everyone, today we are making this gorgeous chicken biryani that I made for my son and daughter-in-law. So to start off, we're going to marinate the chicken in about 3 tablespoons of yogurt is what I'm starting off with, or dahi. So we're going to marinate it, the dahi, or I'm also going to add lemon juice. So I had a little bit of garlic, minced garlic in this bottle that I wanted to take off, so I added the lemon juice in there. So about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So this is good for tenderizing the chicken. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon of minced ginger. Let's see what I add next. Oh, I decided to add a bit more garlic. I didn't think there was enough garlic, so I've added. So I do add in the marination, I do add more garlic than ginger. So now I'm going to add the spices, the salt, the red chili powder, turmeric, and I will post the full recipe in the description box. I'm also going to add some coriander powder or dhania powder and a little bit of garam masala, and a little bit of black pepper powder as well. Now you can add more spices, but this is what I add in my chicken marination. I'm going to mix it up well, and then I will add in the chicken. Here comes the chicken. So I've used about a kilo of chicken, or 2 pounds. So basically it's 4 of those chicken legs. It's all dark meat, so it's those chicken legs with back attached, 4 of them, and I had the butcher cut each leg into 3 pieces, so there's 12 pieces in total. And I do like to wash my chicken. I know it's not necessary, but I like to do it. So I washed it and I brought it, and now I'm going to mix it all up. And you did see me poke holes in the chicken so that the marination gets in. And you should marinate it for a couple of hours, and of course the best is overnight. So I'll marinate the chicken, and then I will leave it in the fridge to marinate, so that the spices get all happy with the chicken. And once I've given it a few hours, I will start cooking the chicken. I've taken some whole spices, fennel seeds, coriander seeds, cumin seeds, green and black cardamom, some dried red chili and black peppercorn. I'm going to dry roast the spices just to release some of the aroma, and then I'm going to just roughly pound it out in my mortar. I'm not going to make a powder out of this because I've got the powdered spice already in the marination. So I'm going to keep these spices almost whole. I will pound it out a little bit just to sort of release the oils and the flavors. And here I'm going to take a couple of tablespoons of oil. I'm going to start cooking the chicken. I'm also going to take 1 tablespoon of desi ghee. So I do like to mix it. It gives a nice flavor. And here you saw me bring my mortar and pounded it out separately, and I added those roasted whole spices into the oil, and now I'll just sort of brown it a bit. I'm just making sure the red chili is not too spicy, because sometimes it turns out too spicy. I've added 1.5 medium, just roughly chopped onions. You can slice them, chop them finely if you want. It doesn't matter, because this is just going to be mixed in with the chicken and it will disappear. So you want to just saute the onions till they are slightly pink and not brown them at all. And then add in your marinated chicken and mix everything well. And once it's I kind of put it on high heat for a couple of minutes just to kind of warm the chicken through, because it did come from the fridge. It's very cold. And once I'm sort of it's well mixed, I will cover it And now the recipe will cook throughout on medium heat. Okay, so I'm going to cover it, put in a timer for 5 minutes, and then we'll check it after 5 minutes. And here it is after 5 minutes. And I'm going to give it a good stir. Obviously the chicken is not cooked after 5 minutes, but I just want to check on it and give it a good stir and make sure it's coming along well, it's not sticking anywhere. And then I will cover it and give it another 5 minutes. So you can still see the onion, but as this thing cooks down, the onion will just, it'll disappear, it'll meld with the curry. And here it is after 10 minutes. No. And it's coming together well. The spices and the yogurt that I had marinated the chicken in has cooked well, and I can tell because the yogurt has kind of left its fat as well, so there's a little bit of oil sort of skimming on the top, which I hate, but it does it does make it tasty. So here it is after 10 minutes. I'm going to give it a good stir and then cover it and check it again after 5 minutes. You see me putting on the timer, and here it is after 15 minutes. And at this point the chicken is cooked through, all the spices and the yogurt has cooked through. It is beginning to look delicious. You can still see some of the onions, but don't worry, we are still continuing to cook it. I'm going to add tomatoes because the chicken has cooked through. I'm just tasting it at this point, and I've added my crushed tomatoes. I just crushed them in the food processor itself. So I've been using the little tomatoes recently. So I think I used 6 of them. So you would use 3 medium, or 1.5 large. But basically you want the tomato volume to be almost equal to the onion volume that you put in initially. And that gives it a nice curry flavor. So I've added the tomatoes, and I did taste it. So this is a good time to sort of balance the taste. And I decided it needed a little bit more salt at this time because the only salt was what was in the marination. So I've added a little bit of garam masala as well. And that's all I'm going to add. The spice level was just right. And I'll stir everything up, and I will give it another 5 minutes for the tomatoes to cook through, and for the chicken to get happy with the added tomatoes as well. And here is the final cook. I'm opening it after the last 5 minutes. So it's been 20 minutes cooking, and now I'm going to give it its final cook. I'll raise the heat just a touch, and I will cook it continuously uncovered until the gravy is kind of the way I like it, or just enough for the biryani. So here you see it's fully cooked. You can't see any of the onions, they've all disappeared. You've got a nice homogenized gravy, and I am going to rest it, so it's going to continue to cook even with the heat off, and it will thicken even with the heat off. So you don't want it too dry at this point. So alongside, while my chicken was cooking, I also made my biryani rice. So I'm taking 2.5 cups of rice. Obviously that's too much, but I'm actually making 2 biryanis, so I'm making the rice together both for the chicken biryani and the veg biryani, and I'll post the recipe for the veg biryani separately. But I'm making, the rice together, so I am making more rice than I need. If you were just making it for the 2 people, I find 1.5 cups of rice is probably enough, depending on who your eaters are. So I've got my water boiling. I'm making my biryani rice, and so I took a lot of water in a big pot. I added a little bit of desi ghee. I'm adding some bay leaves, some fennel seeds, and some the green elaichi that I just pounded roughly. I'm going to salt the water well. I do want my rice to be flavorful. I'm adding cumin seeds, and here is some garam masala. I'm also going to add some cinnamon powder. It gives a good flavor in here for the rice. And now I'm going to just stir everything and cover it and allow the water to come to a boil and become infused with all the spices that I added. I'm also going to add some fresh herbs in here. I'm going to add some coriander and mint leaves, and they're going to come in shortly. I recall that I forgot to chop them up, but so I'm just going to roughly chop it. Just tear up the herbs with my hand and add it to the water. So basically the rice for the biryani is flavored separately as well, just so it's nice. So I've added my fresh herbs. I guess one of my timers was going off, and now I will cover it and let the water boil. And here it is. Once the water starts boiling, I have my rice soaked. I only soak my rice for about 15-20 minutes. It is basmati rice, and I use the 817 variety. And so I will bring my soaked rice. I've thrown away the water that I soaked it in, added my 2.5 cups of rice in here, and I am going to cook the rice in this water for about 5 minutes, and I find that is enough to bring the rice to about the 80 to 90% cooked level that I want them at. So again, I'm going to add the rice, add my cover, which is too hot to the touch. So I'll just leave a little bit open and leave this to boil away for 5 minutes. And here it is after 5 minutes. The rice, I'll test the rice and make sure it's at the level I want it at, and once it is, I will take the pot and empty out all the water. So I'll throw away all the excess water, and here I come. My heat is off. I've turned off the heat. I've gone off to the sink to run my rice through the big strainer. Here is my empty pot, and I'll just put my strainer with the rice right on top of it, and just allow the rice to rest, and do its final thing. I'll cover it with a clean tea towel, just to sort of allow it to let the steam escape, but also keep it nice and moist. There we go. So now the rice is done, the chicken is done. It's time to assemble it, and to give it done in the oven. So here I've taken a big casserole dish and just kind of lightly greased it with some desi ghee, and I will lay out a layer of the rice. You can see when I put it in, it's so gorgeous. Look at it. It's fluffy, it's each grain is all separate, it's so long and it came out so nice, and it's got that delicious color from all the spices that I boiled the rice with. I will leave the herbs and everything in. The only thing that I'm taking off are the bay leaves. And I did make this saffron milk, so I took a bit of milk, warmed it in the microwave, and added a bit of saffron to it to make my saffron milk, and let it steep for about 10-15 minutes. And so I drizzled some saffron milk on my rice, and now I will layer out the chicken. You can see how well it's cooked, and the gravy is so nice and thick, just perfect for the biryani. And I'm going to layer all of it and not just the chicken pieces, because that will give it the little bit extra water. I'm not going to add water, but the little bit extra liquid that the rice needs to sort of come together well with the whole thing. And I am going to layer more things on here as well, so do keep watching, because I'm going to layer a bunch of different things on top of the chicken before I put the final layer of rice. I just do the one layer. I know some people do multiple layers, but the one layer is good. So I've added some freshly chopped coriander leaves. Over here, I'm also going to add some mint leaves that I have roughly chopped up. And I don't fry my onions separately. I just buy the fried onions from the store, and I keep them in the fridge so that I have them for recipes like this. And so here are my fried onions that I'm going to layer on top of it. Obviously, you can fry your own onions, but I hate frying anything. The fumes are so toxic. So if I need fried onions for something, I just get it from the market. So I've put my fried onions on, and now I will layer the rice. So you want to make sure that your layers of rice are not very thick. So I know I'm making this for my son and daughter-in-law, and they sometimes they will leave the rice and eat the chicken. So I don't put too much rice on, and I just had one layer on top, and I had one layer at the bottom, and the top layer is quite a sparse layer. It's just there to seal all the goodness in. And I'm going to drizzle all the remaining saffron milk on top of it. And saffron, don't skip this step, because this step is so good. It gives it such a nice fragrance, and you can taste it, and it's just wonderful. Now, some people add some kevra water at this point. I don't do that if I'm using saffron, but you could if you wanted more floral notes. So I'm topping it with some sliced almonds. Now you could top it with other nuts and raisins as well, but this is all I'm going to use, just the sliced almonds. Some people use cashews and raisins as well, but I know my audience, and I know which nuts they like and which ones they don't like. So I'm going to wrap it up nicely with the foil paper. And always, when you are using foil paper, the shiny side should face where you want the heat to be directed. So the shiny side in this case is down. And I will leave it in the oven at 180 degrees Fahrenheit for a couple of hours, so it gets nice and gets a good dum. And here is the final version. It was delicious. Do try it and enjoy. And if you like this recipe, do remember to subscribe.